You believe your thoughts create your reality. But what if I told you that's not entirely true? What if the true power of transformation doesn't lie in what you think, but in what you choose to observe consistently? Think for a moment. How many times have you tried to think positively, repeated affirmations, visualize the best-case scenario, and yet everything still went wrong? And how many times have you had a negative thought, a doubt, a fear, and life still surprised you with something good? The truth is, thoughts are volatile. They come and go, influenced by memories, emotions, conversations, and even the environment. They're like passing clouds, but there's something deeper, quieter, more constant. Your observation, what you choose to focus on, nourish, and sustain with your attention. That's what truly has the power to shape your vibration, and in turn, your reality. Today, you'll understand why thinking positive isn't enough, why many manifestation techniques fail, and how to access the true point of creation in your experience, the observing consciousness. By the end of this video, your view of the mind, energy, and reality will never be the same. Let's unlock this transformative key together. Thoughts are temporary, observation is direction. Thoughts are like the wind, they blow, they shift direction. Sometimes they arrive softly, other times they come like a storm. A thought arises, takes shape for a few moments, and soon dissolves. It can be triggered by something you saw, heard, remembered, or even by an unconscious emotion you didn't realize was there. That's why relying solely on thoughts to create your reality is like trying to build a house on quicksand. What must be deeply understood is this: thoughts happen all the time, but you are not your thoughts. They pass through your mind, but they don't stay on their own. They only gain strength when they find a space where they can be continuously fed. And that space is your observation. Observation is like the sun illuminating what is being seen. It doesn't just perceive, it warms, nourishes, strengthens. It sustains the existence of something within you. And that's what distinguishes a fleeting thought from a vibration that begins to take form in reality. When you observe a thought frequently, even if it isn't positive, your energy starts to resonate with it. That creates a magnetic field, a vibrational signature, which begins to influence your emotions, your choices, and even the events around you. You've probably asked yourself why certain patterns repeat in your life. Familiar situations, recurring emotions, people with similar behaviors. This happens not because you think the same thoughts, but because you repeatedly observe the same aspects of your reality. Often without realizing, you become someone who constantly directs their gaze toward lack, conflict, limitations. Even when you try to think positively, your observation remains anchored in what's missing, what went wrong, what still feels distant. It's like being in a room full of windows. Each thought is a different window that opens briefly, but you decide which window you'll keep your eyes on. That decision, that sustained focus, is what begins to attract life experiences that match what you're observing with the most presence. Thoughts can lie. They can arise from fear, anxiety, or comparison, but conscious observation is a choice. And when that choice is made with clarity, it becomes a powerful compass that directs your energy, your perception, and eventually your entire reality. The most common mistake is believing that thinking something for a few seconds can transform your life. But real transformation happens when you begin to observe with consistency everything you wish to expand. Because whatever is nourished with your attention grows. Whatever is observed with presence intensifies. The illusion of positive thinking without directed observation. We live in an era where positive thinking has been placed on a pedestal. Phrases like "think positive and everything will change" have become modern mantras. Books, videos, lectures, all reinforcing the idea that thinking optimistically is enough to transform reality. But in practice, how many times has that actually worked for you? How often have you repeated affirmations of abundance, love, health, and yet life seemed to remain exactly where it was? The truth that few dare to say is this: positive thinking by itself is superficial. It may bring temporary relief, a fleeting spark of hope, But if it's not supported by a coherent internal observation, it quickly fades away like smoke. Because while you try to convince your mind that everything is fine, your observation remains focused on lack, fear, and pain. And that's what truly emits vibration. That's what the universe responds to. There's a massive difference between saying I am prosperous and spending every day observing the lack of money, overdue bills, or a persistent feeling of worry. There's a chasm between saying I love myself and then spending the day looking in the mirror with judgment, comparing your body, your words, your choices. And it is precisely in this space between what is thought and what is observed that manifestation breaks down. Positive thinking has become a kind of spiritual makeup, something that temporarily masks deeper layers of insecurity, doubt, and vibrational misalignment. But the universe doesn't respond to the words you speak. It responds to the vibration you sustain, and that vibration is born from what you observe consistently and with intensity. Observation, in this context, is not just seeing with your eyes. It's feeling internally, registering emotionally, assigning meaning. When you observe something, even silently, you are feeding that content with your energy, and that energy is the raw material of your reality. That's why many people feel frustrated with spirituality. They think positively for a few minutes, but spend the rest of the day feeding, through observation, everything that contradicts what they say they want. Thinking is easy. Observing takes awareness. And more than that, observing takes courage. The courage to shift focus even when everything around you screams the opposite. The courage to train your mind to hold its gaze toward what you want to build rather than what you want to avoid. When you understand this, something within you realigns. You begin to realize that what's creating your reality is not your momentary desire, nor the thought you repeat mechanically, but the sustained vibration of your attention. And that attention is a direct bridge between your mind and the universe. Thinking is surface, observing is vibration. That's one of the most powerful truths of conscious creation. And when you understand that observation is what fuels your frequency, you begin to use your energy more wisely. You stop faking positivity and start cultivating presence. You stop trying to control the external with scripted phrases and begin transforming the internal with focus, intention, and truth. This is the point where the journey stops being mental and becomes energetic, where spirituality becomes alive, where you don't just think differently, you start vibrating differently. And as a result, you start living differently. How observation becomes your dominant vibration. Observation, when sustained consistently, becomes vibration. And that vibration is the invisible code that organizes the experiences you attract. It may seem too subtle at first, but as soon as you begin noticing what you've been feeding with your attention, you'll see how everything in your life is deeply connected to that silent focus. What you frequently observe begins to gain energetic space within you. It doesn't matter whether it's something external, like a recurring situation, or internal, like a familiar emotion. Simply keeping your gaze on it causes it to become a vibrational pattern. And that pattern communicates with the field around you. It sends signals to the universe, even when you say nothing. This is the secret of conscious manifestation. Most people believe that wishing hard, visualizing with intensity, is enough for the universe to understand. But the universe doesn't respond to temporary wishes. It responds to what you're observing with presence, truth, and emotion. What becomes dominant within you isn't what you occasionally think. It's what you continuously contemplate, even in silence. When you observe something often, you begin to feel something about it. And that feeling, repeated again and again, becomes vibration. And that vibration begins to shape your posture, your decisions, your words, your way of acting in the world. You start living through that lens. And life responds to the lens, not the loose intention. For example, someone may desire healthy relationships, but they spend their days observing betrayal, abandonment, or past judgment. They might say they want love, but their vibration is anchored in resentment. In contrast, someone who begins to observe small acts of affection, genuine connections, and moments of presence starts to vibrate the energy of love. And that vibration is the magnet that attracts more experiences of that same frequency. The same goes for money. You can affirm 1,000 times that you want prosperity, but if you spend your days observing high prices, unpaid bills, and fear of the future, your vibration remains stuck in scarcity. And scarcity, when frequently observed, becomes an energetic presence that seeps into everything: conversations, choices, habits. That's why it's not just about changing your thoughts. It's about changing the focus of your observation. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, that's where your creation begins. When you begin intentionally observing what reflects your desired new state, something powerful happens. Your vibration reorganizes. And it doesn't need to shout to do that. It only needs coherence. Coherence between what you want and what you choose to look at. Observation is a silent and steady practice. It doesn't require force, it requires presence. It requires that you be willing, again and again, to choose which internal reality you want to strengthen. And the more you sustain that choice, the more that vibration becomes your natural state. And when that happens, the external world starts responding like a clear mirror, reflecting exactly what you're radiating. How to consciously redirect your observation. Redirecting observation isn't just a technique. It's a commitment to your inner reality. It's the decision to step out of autopilot and take full responsibility for what you nourish with your attention. Because wherever you choose to place your focus, your energy will follow. And where your energy rests, creation begins. Most people observe life reactively. They respond to what's in front of them, unaware that this seemingly passive act of observing is charged with vibration. When you wake up and immediately notice the problems, the lack, or what's out of place, you begin to set the energetic tone of your entire day. Even if you try to think positively later, your field is already saturated with what you fed it with your attention. Redirecting your observation is about reclaiming control of your gaze, consciously choosing what you want to reinforce in your experience. This doesn't mean denying facts or pretending something isn't happening. It means choosing what will receive your energy, your focus, and therefore your power of expansion. Observation is like a lens. It magnifies whatever it locks onto. And when you begin to redirect that lens, you're not just changing what you see, you're changing what you vibrate. This redirection begins with awareness. The first step is to notice where your mind runs automatically. What are the patterns it insists on revisiting? Maybe you'll notice it always observes scarcity when money's mentioned, or rejection whenever love is considered, or limitation when you think about yourself. These patterns didn't form by accident. They've been fed by years of repetition. But now you have the chance to break the cycle, not by fighting them, but by offering your focus a new direction. Redirection is simple, yet profound. It starts with one question: is this observation contributing to the reality I want to live? If the answer is no, then a new lens needs to be adjusted. Perhaps one that is wider, more compassionate, more aligned with what you want to see flourish. When you begin to observe aspects aligned with your intention, even the small, subtle ones, you're already vibrating differently. For example, if the reality you desire involves abundance, begin to observe the flows that already exist, no matter how small. A coin you find in your pocket, an unexpected gift, a creative idea that appears. If you want more love, observe the gestures of care around you, a listening ear, a kind glance, a moment of connection. These small acts of observation, when done with presence, have the power to completely shift your frequency. To turn this into real practice, one powerful exercise is to commit to spending 24 hours observing only what is in resonance with the life you want to create. That doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means that when they arise, you consciously seek the lesson, the opening, the hidden opportunity. There is always something new to see, always a detail that could become the turning point. Your mind will try to pull you back to old patterns. It will seek the familiar, the comfortable, the automatic. But each time you choose to return to intentional observation, you're strengthening a new neural pathway, a new vibrational frequency, a new potential reality. And the more you practice this redirection, the more natural it becomes, until one day observing consciously is no longer an effort, but simply the way you live. This is the true point of power, knowing that at any moment you can choose what to focus on, and that this choice, no matter how small it seems, holds the power to shift your entire experience. Because in the end, the reality you live is a direct extension of what you observe with your heart. How reality begins to shift when you shift your gaze. The outer reality begins to reorganize the moment your inner gaze shifts direction. It might not be immediately visible to the eyes, but something happens on a subtle, powerful level. It's as if the vibration of your field begins to send out new signals, new instructions, new possibilities to the universe. And, like a mirror, life responds, not to what you say you want, but to what you sustain with your observation. When you shift your gaze, you change the meaning of things. What once seemed like a block now appears as a necessary pause. What once looked like failure is now seen as redirection. Same reality, same scene, but a completely different perception. And this new perception begins to generate new emotions. New emotions create new behaviors, and new behaviors create new experiences. It's a silent chain, but it's transformational. The world around you is constantly responding to the frequency you emit, and your frequency is deeply shaped by the way you observe life. When your gaze is tinted with judgment, comparison, complaint, or scarcity, what you see is a reflection of those same energies. Even when good things happen, you see them through a limited lens and often miss the opportunity right in front of you. But when you begin to observe from a state of presence, gratitude, and openness, even the smallest details take on a new brilliance. What once went unnoticed becomes a sign of expansion. A simple conversation becomes a deep connection. A routine gesture becomes an act of care. A silence becomes space for clarity. The world hasn't changed, you have. And as a result, reality begins to reshape itself. Many people wait for big external signs before making inner changes. But the natural order of manifestation is the opposite. First, your gaze transforms, then reality follows. And that transformation begins with subtle choices. When you choose to observe beauty instead of noise. When you choose to see possibility instead of limitation. When you allow yourself to contemplate what is aligned with the life you want to build. What's most interesting is that this shift in perspective doesn't require forced effort. It doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It only depends on intention and practice. Once you commit to keeping your focus on what uplifts, the energy around you begins to move. Different people show up, unexpected situations unfold, ideas arise from nowhere, and you begin to realize that you're no longer just reacting to life, you're co-creating with it. This change doesn't happen because the universe suddenly decided to favor you. It happens because when you change your gaze, you change your vibrational signature. And with that, you began tuning into another layer of reality. It's like changing the station on a radio. The music you hear depends on the frequency you're tuned into. Life works the same way. What you perceive is what you're vibrating. And what you're vibrating is determined by what you choose to observe consistently. That's why, when you change your gaze, you're not just changing your perspective. You're accessing a new dimension of your own existence. And that dimension begins to show you paths that were once invisible. Because deep down, reality was never fixed or unchangeable. It has always been malleable, shapeable, alive, and it responds in real time to the quality of your observation. Choose to see with more awareness, and watch life reveal its new shape before your very eyes. Beware of self-deception. Observing is not pretending. On the path of expanding consciousness, one of the greatest challenges is distinguishing intentional observation from escapism. Many people, upon discovering the power of observation, fall into the subtle trap of self-deception. They begin repeating positive affirmations without actually feeling them. They pretend to be fine while unhealed pain still lingers inside. And they believe that by ignoring their problems, they'll be vibrating at a higher frequency. But observing with awareness is not pretending. It's not denying what's happening. It's not hiding behind pretty words while the heart remains in conflict. Observing with intention is an act of courage. It requires emotional maturity to recognize what's real in the present moment and, at the same time, to choose where to direct your energy. It's not about pretending there's no fear. It's about not feeding that fear with constant attention. It's not about denying scarcity. It's about not allowing it to become the center of your gaze. The difference lies in the source of your choice. Pretending comes from avoidance. Observing comes from presence. When you pretend something isn't affecting you, the universe doesn't receive the message you're trying to send. It responds to the real vibration being emitted, and in that case, the vibration is confused, contradictory, divided. It's like saying, "I'm fine," with your lips while your body sends signals of tension, your heart beats out of rhythm, and your mind is full of noise. This incoherence weakens your energetic field and creates a kind of fog between you and the reality you want to manifest. Conscious observation, on the other hand, is clear, honest, and powerful. It acknowledges what is here, now, with respect, but consciously chooses where to rest its attention. It understands that healing doesn't come from denying pain, but from observing it with compassion, without being consumed by it. It knows that everything brought into the light of awareness, with presence and without judgment, can be transformed. There's a huge difference between feeding a negative narrative and holding space for a difficult moment with awareness. When you observe something with elevated intention, even if it's challenging, you are already transmuting that energy because you're no longer being ruled by it. You become the witness, not the prisoner, and that shift in posture changes everything. The true power of observation lies in its depth. It doesn't need masks or appearances. It is silent but intense. It happens when you face your reality with the eyes of construction, not illusion. When you choose, even in chaos, to observe any sign of harmony. When you decide, even with pain present, to hold your gaze on the healing that is approaching. Spiritual practice isn't about hiding from what's uncomfortable. It's about bringing light to the shadows, and from there, consciously choosing what you want to nourish. Pretending distances you from yourself. Observation reconnects you. Pretending pulls you out of authentic vibration. Observing aligns you with the field of true creation. So be honest with yourself. There's no shame in feeling fear, insecurity, sadness. We all feel them. The difference lies in what you choose to do with those feelings. Will you look at them as something permanent, or will you hold them gently and begin to redirect your focus? Will you pretend everything is fine while something inside you asks for care? Or will you allow yourself to observe with compassion, even without fully understanding? Remember, observing with awareness isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's not about always being in a high vibration, but about consistently choosing where you want to place your energy. It is in that space of quiet truth that real transformation begins. Because only when you are honest about what you feel can you truly change what you experience. We've reached the end of our journey, and now you know. You are not what you think. You are what you observe, with intention, with presence, with focus. Reality doesn't respond to scattered words you say, but to the vibration you hold with your gaze. Thoughts come and go. Observation, when conscious, directs your energy and shapes the world around you. For the next 24 hours, choose to observe as if your reality is already transforming. See beyond appearances, beyond the obvious. Allow your gaze to reveal new possibilities. What you observe today, with a present heart, is what will bloom tomorrow in your experience. Your reality is an extension of whatever you decide to nourish with your attention. So choose wisely, with love, with presence, because the universe always responds to the vibration of your gaze.